All right, guys, it is 4:03. Thank you so much for coming. My name's Katie. I'm from Holganix, and you guys have attended the webinar Going Green in the Green Industry. You want to go to the next slide for me, Warren? So, for those of you guys that this is your first webinar, in order to participate, we've got you all on mute, and that's because there's so many of you that it would clog up the system if we all started talking at once. So if you have a question, throw it down in that chat box, and we'll be sure to answer it straight away. So as you guys went ahead and registered for this webinar, we asked you a couple key questions to kind of get a sense of who the audience was and how to best tailor the presentation to you. And so one of those key questions that we asked was, what industry are you in? And this is a graph representing all of your answers. So it looks like about 58% of you are in the lawn care full service segment. 15% are in fertilizer only. 4% of you are in sports turf, 2% golf, and then 21% of you are in the other category, which is consisting of a bunch of other segments that are all compiled together. Another big question that we asked you is, what is your biggest plant or turf hurdle that you're facing right now? And it was really interesting because 44% of you said less inputs of some kind. And in this question, the less inputs, that refers to reductions in water, fertilizers, and pesticides. All of that has to do with being green, being sustainable. So showing that that's one of your biggest plant turf hurdles, that's something that you guys are really concerned about, is really awesome for this specific webinar because we're going to be covering a lot of that today. And so without further ado, I just want to say welcome to Warren from Ewing Irrigation and Landscape Supply. Warren is the Vice President of Sustainability there. We are so grateful to have him here today to share his knowledge on sustainability with all of us. Ewing has been a great partner and distributor for Holganix. And Warren, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself to the audience here?
Great. And being the trendsetter that I like to be, I'm trying to share my camera, so hopefully you can see me. I can't see you. I know you're out there. I know you're watching. I know you're listening, hopefully. But I wanted to at least be able to have more of a conversation with you, and so there's a little bit more interaction at least. Katie, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It's really a great honor to be participating in this webinar and to be sharing some of my ramblings, my thoughts, my insights about sustainability, kind of give you a little bit of a background about myself, a little bit of background about why Ewing is committed to sustainability and kind of some of the things that we're looking at doing in the future, and why sustainability in general, and why the industry that we work in is so important. And then, of course, we'll talk about soil health, which is one of the key things to sustainable landscape, is having healthy soil, which is going to lead to healthy plants, water reduction, and so forth. So again, thank you all for being here. Please, as Katie mentioned, please do use the question section in the webinar control panel so we can get to your questions after I'm done with what I'm talking about. And depending on how your questions come in, if it's appropriate, Katie might even pop them in the middle of my presentation when I'm talking. So with that, let's get going here. So yeah, how is that? I'm starting a picture. Believe it or not, that's actually me. Some of my earliest memories as a child were being outside, and it really gave me kind of a sense of place. If I think back to my childhood, a lot of the things that I did involved around being connected with nature, being outside. And I bet that if you started to think back to your childhood, I bet you some of the things that you can remember, depending on how old you are, some of the things that you could remember were probably tied to being outside someplace. There's something magical about being outside. There's something that kind of was ingrained, at least for me. Now, at that point, I had no idea that I'd be working in this industry, in the landscape industry and the green industry, which we're going to talk about, but it really definitely connected me and intrigued me to want to do something being outdoors. And so I grew up actually in a suburban neighborhood, and my next door neighbors, who are pictured on the left of your screen, Larry and Georgie Musselman, actually, they moved through to Los Angeles, which is where I grew up, from Missouri. And you could picture Larry in his overalls with his pitchfork as a true farmer. And he literally brought the farm with him. And so rather than a traditional turf grass lawn parkway in our neighborhood, again, this is in Los Angeles, mind you, he actually grew vegetables. Now, obviously, that picture you're seeing there is not his parkway because back when I was a child at that point, I wasn't taking pictures, but this is a good representation of it. And so believe it or not, in the middle of LA, he was growing vegetables, and they grew lettuce, tomatoes, corn, carrots, rhubarb, even pineapple. Yep, you can even grow pineapple in Los Angeles. And their front yard garden was even featured on Huell Hauser twice, and once upon a time in my early childhood, I was actually on the TV show in the background. I didn't have a speaking role, however. But their interest in growing food and vegetables really sparked and inspired my curiosity with plants and horticulture. And so I thought I had to try it myself. And so here you can see I'm holding one of the fruits of my labor, no pun intended. That's a zucchini, in case you can't tell, with one of my friends, Gabriel, who helped me kind of tend to my garden growing up. And I'll tell you that one of the things I learned very early on is when the zucchinis get that big, they don't taste very good at all. They're actually good for zucchini bread, however, but they're definitely not good for salads and things like that. But I guess you could say at that time the seed was planted, and I knew that one day I wanted to work in some type of environmental related field. And as I mentioned, I grew up in Los Angeles, and at 14 years old, I actually started working on the golf course across the street from my house. And it was really my first job, and it was really my entrance into the green industry. And I can tell you that my favorite time on the golf course was during sunrise with the dew on the grass. It was very peaceful. It was serene. There was kind of a stillness in the air that in a sense made it feel like time had stopped. And yet, the golf course actually was in the middle of the city. Here's a picture that you're looking at right now, an aerial view of it. And actually, you could be on the golf course in the middle of the city and not even know that you're surrounded by such a big city like Los Angeles. And an average 18-hole golf course covers about 150 acres. And at the height before the economic downturn, there were actually over 2.2 million acres of land in the U.S. devoted to golf courses. What you're looking at on the photo there is actually an 18-hole golf course, kind of in the middle. To the upper portion of the picture of the golf course is a little 9-hole golf course, and then if you go across the street and you see the one that actually has the greener grass, and it's interesting to me that you can see the greener grass and actually even see the whiteness of the sand traps. That's actually, the one on the left is a public golf course run by the city of Los Angeles, and the one on the right is a private golf course, so they had a little bit more resources for budgets to keep for water and also their fertilization programs, and obviously to have whiter sand in the sand traps. But really, that was my entrance into the green industry when I was 14. And I, at the time, thought, I want to study something to do with horticulture, and actually got my undergraduate degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And my original intention was to become a golf course superintendent. And, I decided as I was working through college and in our bookstore selling computers that there was something about working on a golf course. As much as I loved it, you could never satisfy people. Either the greens were too fast, they were too slow, the course was too wet, it was too dry. Just something I wanted to do where I felt like I could make a difference every day and actually help people and help solve their problems as well. And so I started working for Ewing. Actually, July 1st, coming up, will be my 22-year anniversary. So now that I've dated myself, you can figure out how old I am. And over the last 22 years, I've done a variety of things at Ewing, including managing some of our branches, being involved in a variety of different outside sales aspects, from our golf industry to our water conservation, water management. And really, it was water management that actually got me really interested in figuring out about sustainability. And I'll kind of get there in a minute here, I promise. And so, as a company, we started talking about water conservation and actually came up with this little branding around your source for conservation solutions probably close to 15 years ago, before anybody was really talking about water conservation. I wish I could tell you that I had a crystal ball and I could predict all these droughts that we would see, like in 2007 in the Southeast, or the one that's been going on for 5 years in the West Coast. I don't have a crystal ball, and if I did, I probably would be retired on a beach someplace, not working anymore. But, we thought and realized the importance of water conservation, and then, like I said, we helped kind of create a brand around it and started identifying products that contribute to and help make irrigation systems more efficient. And it really also led me to being involved with some of the different trade organizations as well. And that's something that's really important to Ewing, is supporting industry professionalism. And these are some of the organizations that I've been involved with over my 22 years at Ewing, and some that I'm currently involved with as well. Again, working in organizations like the Alliance for Water Efficiency, which is a national group focused on water conservation, and getting to interact with water agency staff and consultants, and also different nonprofit associations, and really trying to have that conversation around water, because at the time we were the first people kind of involved in that in the industry. And so a lot of the time they were like, why are you here? Because you guys work in the outdoor industry and, we don't really care about that as much. Now, of course, going forward to the last probably 10 years, a lot of the focus on water conservation has been towards outdoors. Our involvement with the California Landscape Contractors Association, which I was on the board for, and also for the state board and also the local chapter, being involved with and looking for new opportunities too in organizations like Green Roofs for Healthy Cities. I think green roofs and green walls are continuing to be, a no pun intended, a growing trend in the green industry, and a great opportunity for the landscape industry to be involved with. A lot trickier, a lot harder to grow plants in a shallow soil profile, whether it's on top of a roof, thousands and thousands of feet in the air, or whether it's a vertical wall that's exposed to the elements. I got involved with the United States Green Building Council, which they're the folks that are responsible for the leadership in energy and environmental design, that whole rating system, because I was concerned about how they were talking about irrigation, and I wanted to see if I could at least provide a perspective from the irrigation industry. And the old adage about if you don't like something, you need to get involved, well, that's kind of been my philosophy over the 22 years I've worked at Ewing. You can't complain about it unless you're contributing and trying to provide alternatives and solutions. The National Association of Landscape Professionals, also formerly known as Planet, and if you've even been in the industry longer than that, it used to be known as ALCA before that. I'm involved in a couple of their committees, including the Public Affairs Advisory Council. And I want to call the attention that they're working really hard to promoting the benefits of landscaping, which is part of my discussion here today. And in fact, if you get a chance, check out their new consumer-oriented website that you can send your customers to, and also even download some tools that you can use for your customers to print up and hand out to your customers in your marketing. And it's Love Your Landscape. And I believe it's loveyourlandscape.com. It might be .org, I apologize, but I think it's loveyourlandscape.com. And then finally, the Irrigation Association, again, trying to figure out how we, and as an industry, work on promoting efficient use of irrigation. And so I've been involved in the Irrigation Association and the Government Affairs Committee, and for the last almost 5 years now, I've been on the board of directors, and actually I'll be the president of the Irrigation Association in 2018. It's really an honor for me to be the president, and it's going to be an honor for me to be able to provide some input and some thoughts on the irrigation industry. And I'm already kind of, not to talk about politics, but I'm kind of building my platform a little bit. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about today in our industry are things that I hope to try to use to guide and build coalition and a collaboration in our industry, working together to support the benefits of landscaping. And as in the last 2-3 years, have been focused on sustainability at Ewing, I realized that I didn't really know a lot about sustainability. I'd heard the term before, and so I figured I need to learn more about it. And what better way to do that than from outside your industry? And so this past January, I completed a 13-month Executive Master's of Sustainability Leadership that I did while I was working. Most of it was online at ASU, Arizona State University. And it was really a great way to meet sustainability professionals through our guest speakers and lecturers online, as well as my 24-member cohort from all different parts of the world. We had people from 4 different continents, actually, and getting to learn and understand how to look at things through the lens of sustainability. There isn't this switch that you can flip and you're a sustainable company, or you're a sustainable industry, or you're a sustainable person. It's something that you look at and how you address things, and it's a journey. And it's really a journey, and it's a long path and a long journey, and there are times someone like myself gets impatient because I want things to actually happen sooner. But that's the world of sustainability. It does take time. And so it was a great experience and a great opportunity for me to learn about sustainability and figure out how to bring that back into our company, and as we guide and build and develop our brand around sustainability. And so Sustainable Solutions is a brand that we're working on right now, and you will start seeing more about that as we kind of identify sustainable opportunities for you and for your business, and for us and for our business as well. And at Ewing, we look at sustainability in kind of 3 different areas. It's people. So what makes up a sustainable employee? How do we provide career opportunities for our employees? Also tied to people is our community outreach. How can we be good stewards, good citizens, and how do we give back to the communities that we do business in? And finally, it's also tied to wellness. How do we have healthy employees? Because the old adage, healthy mind equals a healthy body, or healthy body equals healthy mind, something close to that. And then the product side, which is where you as our customers come in, is how do we provide products that can contribute to a sustainable landscape? And I'm very careful when I use terminology that way, because I don't always call them sustainable products, because you're probably very well aware that there are a lot of products that we currently sell, that we currently use in the green industry, that actually aren't very sustainable. And so that's something we need to kind of work on, looking at how do we find products that will make the landscape more sustainable. And I think ultimately in the future we'll actually have more products that are sustainable as new technology comes out and as people develop new ways to do things. And last but certainly not least, how do we make our facilities, we have over 200 stores in the country, how do we make them more sustainable too, whether it's internal lighting, our electrical usage, and our external water usage for our landscapes that we have. We need to walk the talk, and that's important to us as well. All right, enough about me for a second. Let's talk about you. So why is sustainability important to you? I'm going to push a poll out to you here really quickly. Give you a few seconds to answer. Okay, interesting. I like the answers here. And actually, there's still some more coming in.
Yeah, we got about
all right, we need another
percent. Let's see if we can get 75.
All right, we're at 67%. Oh, now I realize where you look for that. 71, come on. I know some of you are not sleeping. You can't be sleeping already. All right, we're at 76%. Perfect. Okay, so I think if I click this button here, it'll tell you, well, we're up to 81%. Wait. All right, now what happened to my presentation?
Here, I'll do it for you.
Okay, there we go. Can you post the results?
I can.
Oh,
can you see them?
You can, you did.
Yep, all right,
yes,
perfect.
I do. All right, so doing my part, I'm going to look over at my other monitor, so forgive me if I turn away from the camera. Doing my part to help the environment, important. The market demand is moving in this direction. And then is a tool to differentiate your company from the competition. Great responses, and I think some of the things I'm going to talk about next will kind of give you some insight into that and help you as you look at how to, use sustainability to differentiate your business. I think if I click back there. So in this crazy world that we work in, we're moving at a fast and furious pace. And in a lot of sense, life can be kind of like a blur. And I don't think anybody would disagree with me that we all work long hours, and oftentimes we're spending more time with our coworkers than we do with our own families. And in some sense, it's really like a 24/7 world. We live in this technology age. We're connected 24/7. You've got the internet, television, emails, voicemails, text messages. It just literally makes you want to pull your hair out and drive you crazy. So life can be stressful. How do we as a society escape from the demands placed upon us? Well, I would argue that it's really being connected with nature that does that. And I found this quote from John Muir that you can read, who's an environmental philosopher, in case you're not familiar with John Muir. And really, it's in our time in nature that we can seek relief from all that's going on around us. And I think that's really important. You know, plants have been on the surface of the earth, have existed for over 400 million years. So they've been here in some sense, maybe longer than we have. Most of the communities we live in at one point were natural environments before they were developed. It's really a part of our DNA as humans. I think nature really is a part of our DNA. And so in a sense, there are really many ways that we can connect with nature. And I put a couple pictures up there to see, where could you picture yourself when you think about nature? Is it on the beach? Is it enjoying an afternoon in the park? Is it climbing up someplace in the woods, someplace in a forest? Or is it enjoying some time in up in the snow in the mountains, maybe skiing or snowmobiling? It's a tough one for me. I like being at the beach, but I also like enjoying hiking and enjoying my time up in the woods and nature. So there are over 50 million acres of managed outdoor green spaces in the United States. And the landscape industry alone represents over $76 billion in revenue in our industry, according to a July 2015 study by IBIS World. And actually, in talking to some industry folks, that number is probably going to go up to $100 billion, maybe even as early as the end of this year. So we represent a lot of, and we have a lot of opportunity because of the amount of green spaces that are around the country. And that's something that we, as landscape industry professionals, as green industry professionals, participate and manage and maintain, and should take pride in that as well. So I always like to say we're the original green industry. And if you look at some of the professions that I show on the screen here, we study arboriculture, we study agronomy, botany, horticulture, soil science, integrated pest management, water management. We're licensed, we're certified professionals. There's approximately 500 million people who work in the green industry. And so I think, again, we were green before anybody else was. It's really what we do in a lot of sense every day. And yet it's one of our challenges as a green industry is because we have so many different professions that we are, I think oftentimes we're kind of, the different industries kind of go out with their own message. And so one of my things when it relates to sustainability is how do we all talk about and share the benefits of what we do every day with connecting people with nature? And so here you're looking at a couple pictures here that kind of my ideas of what, when I talk about nature as it relates to what we do every day, because we're connecting people with nature, and I like to say that we bring them outside, and that's how we connect them with nature. And so whether that's a landscape, and no, that's not my backyard, I wish it was, or whether that's being able to actually being producing and growing your own vegetables, which is something I hope to do in my garden someday, or whether that's enjoying time out with your dog, and that's actually, you know, one of the places living in Phoenix here, Arizona, which is where I live. I don't have the ocean to be near, which I used to when I lived in Los Angeles, so my connection with water is walking along the canals. And believe it or not, and that's my dog Dee Dee in the foreground of the picture, but believe it or not, somebody actually had to design the canals, and thank goodness they actually put all those trees around the canals, because when it's 118 degrees here, which it was this weekend, actually it was 122, on Sunday, you sure want some shade if you're going to be out walking your dog. Truth be told, I wouldn't take her out for a walk when it's 122, but you get my point. And then finally, how about enjoying an afternoon at a baseball, playing around a golf? I talked to you about my golf background growing up. That's all connecting people with nature, and that's all what we do every day. That's what our industry does every day. But can you imagine a place without green spaces? Imagine the world without green spaces. So we'd be surrounded by hard, dull, monochromatic surfaces. Where's our oxygen going to come from? What would remove pollution out of the air? What would help moderate the climate? What's going to filter and recharge our groundwater? How are we going to grow our food? Where are our kids going to play? Certainly not there, and if they do, they're probably going to get their knees injured or torn up or skin scraped, so to speak. So green spaces are extremely important to us. Hopefully I'm making my point here of that what we do, the value that we do every day, that our industry does every day, I think it's often not told, the story is not told long enough. Well, imagine looking out of your window to a brick wall. Not very soothing, is it? Well, what about instead of looking out of your brick window, the fact that you are actually looking out at a green landscape with trees and plants? There's this whole study called biophilia, and I encourage you, if you're interested in learning more about it, to Google it. There's also an organization called the Terrapin Institute that specializes and focuses on biophilia. And the whole idea around biophilia is the fact that there is proven data and research that's been done that shows that when people look outside their office window and they're looking at landscapes, at green spaces, that they're actually more productive. If you're in a hospital and your recovery is actually improved, the recovery time is actually improved by looking outdoors at green spaces instead of looking at brick walls like I showed you on our previous slide. Something interesting about it. It's a whole new part of our industry that I think you'll see more and more and start hearing more and more about. All right, soil. It's something, and that's part of our conversation here today, now that I've kind of given you my overview on the sustainability and kind of where my background is and what our company's philosophy is about it, and as well about why our industry is so important. But I think soil is something that is often forgotten about in our industry. I think we don't spend enough time taking care of the health of our soil. And I think collectively we need to work harder at that. I know we do as a company. We need to continue to educate our employees about it and continue to provide our customers resources so they can help manage their soil in a sustainable way. And really, soil is crucial to sustainable turf and plant management. If you're going to actually have healthy plants and healthy turf grass and a healthy landscape, you need to have healthy soil. And it can be done no matter where you are, whether you live and have a clay soil or whether you have an area where you live in an area where your soil is sandy. You still can have healthy soil if it has the right nutrients with it as well. Here's some real quick fun facts around soil. Did you know that a tablespoon of soil has more organisms in it than there are people on Earth? Kind of interesting. Or how about this? Soil supports our planet's biodiversity, and it hosts a quarter of the total of the biodiversity on this planet. A lot of importance going on with the soil. And so soil health leads to healthier plants. And I think, again, there's a very strong connection in that. And if you think about it, there's this whole idea, and hopefully you've heard about the soil food web, and the whole idea about providing balance. about being proactive in actually managing your soil. So you're not waiting for things to be depleted in the soil, but you're being proactive. You're actually providing and having a program so you can make sure the soil is balanced all the way around. And it's really about providing necessary microorganisms to nurture and strengthen the plant. I encourage you, if you haven't had a chance, to take a look at. There's a great soil science ebook that Holganix puts out, and there's a link to the website here on the slide, or if you can also find it if you go to the Holganix website as well. It's a great way to kind of get an introduction to soil health, and you can learn more about the soil food web that I just shared the slide with you on. And so healthy soil leads to what I think is less inputs. So whether that's water, less inputs being fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer, and less inputs being pesticides as well. And when we think about sustainability, that's something that's really important to us. Is how can we take care of, how can we grow more with less, in a sense? And we talk about healthy soil, really it means about less water. And specifically as it relates to the soil texture, as it relates to the endo and ecto mycorrhizae, and how they help allow roots to deep bury themselves or mine deep themselves within the soil in order to find that moisture, or whether it's the microbes that assist with root growth, the soil texture, the right particle sizes, again, increasing the soil's capacity to hold water, maybe even the soil organic matter as well. Increasing your soil organic matter means you're going to increase your soil water holding capacity. There's a website at the bottom here where I pulled some of that information from Michigan State University Extension, actually. So a question for you again, because we want to know about what you think. Let's see here, bear with me here. What are you doing in your program to boost soil health? Got 41% here, 47, 53. Let's see if we can get back up to 80% like we did last time. We're at 65%. And
nearly there.
come on, a little bit more. A couple more of you that are sleeping right now. Wake up, answer the question, then you go back to sleep, or go back to looking your email on your other screen if you want. I'm going to take a drink of water for a second while we're waiting because my voice is about to go. All right, looks like we're only going to get to 65%. Katie, do you want to share the result, please? All right. Interesting. So pretty even split here.
Look at all those wonderful Holganix users.
Yeah, way to go to throw that answer in there, Katie. I didn't see you sneak that one in there on me.
I couldn't help myself there.
That's all right. That's good. Well, speaking of Holganix, this is a great opportunity to, bear with me here, talk about Holganix. As I mentioned earlier in the webinar, as we build our sustainable product offering, we're looking for products that can help contribute to a sustainable landscape. And one of my challenges in my position is to try to look out ahead of trends and ahead of what's coming in the future. And so we can provide solutions to you today before there are no other options, before the traditional options that maybe you're used to using today are no longer going to be able to be used. I didn't talk a lot about regulations. For better or for worse, I know we're not going to get into politics necessarily, but for better or for worse, regulations oftentimes drive change. Some good, some not so good. But the whole idea here is that I think in the future, we're going to be restricted to the kind of things, the kind of inputs that we can put in our landscapes. If you look at what's going on in certain parts of the country, and some of you are from those parts of the country, like the Northeast, where certain cities and towns are actually not allowing the use of synthetic fertilizers anymore. Why is that? Well, unfortunately, if we overwater our landscapes, which can happen, not the best way, not efficient, not a sustainable way to take care of your landscape, but the fertilizer, some of the synthetic fertilizer, if it's not going into the ground, can also run off into the local storm drains. And we're not even going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but I mention all that to you because one of our jobs, again, one of my jobs is to figure out how can we find new solutions that can help you do your job, help you maintain a healthy landscape, and make it easier for you, and then in the sustainable nature being less harmful to the environment. And that's really where Holganix it enters. And we've been working with Holganix for several years right now. And honestly, when I first heard about the product, all right, what is this liquid stuff in a jug? And does it really work? Is this some kind of magic potion? And I didn't really understand anything about it. But as we've been working with the company over the last couple of years, I've truly gotten a chance to see the magic and how crucial and how important it is to taking care of the soil and what a difference it makes for plant health. And the fact that we can do it in a sustainable way. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Katie for a few moments to talk a little bit about Holganix for those of you that aren't familiar with Holganix.
Awesome. Since you went ahead and led the way with camera, I'm going to follow suit. This
All
is
right.
Rich.
Am I still on camera while you're talking too? I don't know. I don't see. Oh, okay.
We're both on. So for those of you that aren't using Holganix at the moment, our definition for it is it's a 100% organic plant probiotic that balances the soil's ecosystem, building strong roots and growing healthier, more resilient plants. So that's going back to the soil food web. All the ingredients within Holganix, which if you go to the next slide, Warren.
Wait, but I got a question for you.
Okay.
I've heard probiotics before. Why do I know that terminology? I've heard it before. What's it used for? What I think isn't that something with human health too?
Yeah. So for those of you that watch TV, and I'm one of them, you may have seen the YoPlay commercial. And
Oh, that's where it was.
yeah. So it's brought around this term probiotic, which has been used in the past, but that really brought it into vogue. And so being a probiotic is all about proactively caring for the plant. And that's building the natural immune system of the plant. And it's caring for the plant in a way that Mother Nature intended. And so the ingredients within Holganix, which are the living beneficial the living beneficial microorganisms, the biological food sources that go ahead and feed those microorganisms, the helpful plant extracts and soil minerals, that all goes back to being a soil probiotic. Because what we're doing is we're strengthening the soil food web, we're strengthening the soil ecosystem. So if you have gaps within the soil food web, weaknesses, we're strengthening that. We're feeding the biology already present in the soil, and we're boosting the diversity and the population counts of your current microbiology within your soil ecosystem. So Holganix is really about taking that proactive approach, a probiotic approach to soil and plant wellness.
So what's in the Holganix recipe? Is this some secret like the Coca-Cola? You know, we don't tell you what's actually in it?
We will tell you. In fact, I don't want to take the entire time to deliver my Holganix commercial. So for those of you that want to learn more about Holganix, I really encourage you to check out our secret recipe. You'll dig into all the really key ingredients within Holganix and what they do for plant health. It's a really powerful marketing piece. It's actually my favorite piece that we have, and we have a lot of pieces. So it's definitely worth checking out. I'll go ahead and copy and paste that link for you guys. Yeah, so as you guys leave the webinar, a survey is going to pop up. Please take it. It allows us to improve the webinars and make sure that we're giving and providing useful information to you. We want to hear from you. And then tomorrow I'll send out a recorded version of this webinar. It was recorded, in case you didn't know. And resources and information mentioned during the webinar. So you'll have it all on one spot. So look for that tomorrow.
Yeah, and your honest feedback is really important, especially for me. So I think that Katie will share it with me. I've got thick skin, so give it to me.
I'll share it with you.
Speaking of which, how do you get a hold of me? Here's my email address, phone number. If you're active on social media, that's our company Twitter account, Ewing Irrigation. If you're active on social media, I encourage you to follow Ewing, but also encourage you to follow me as well. If you want to learn more about sustainability, not just from the landscape industry, but just sustainability all around, I'm committed to providing information. I share probably 7 to 10 articles every day that I read in the morning that I like to share that talk about everything from recycling to water for the drought to soil health to you name it, green roofs and green walls. I've been finding some really great articles on examples of that. So I encourage you to follow me on Twitter and interact with us that way. And you, like I said, if you have questions or want to dive into any of the topics that we've talked about today, that I've talked about today specifically, of course, you can reach out to me via email or through the phone number shown there. And if you've got questions on Holganix specifically, you can reach out to Katie.
Yep, you can reach me via email, phone, or Twitter again. Feel free to reach out. And you can reach out to Rich as well. He was here to answer any of your more technical questions, which you guys didn't really wind up having. So you weren't able to utilize him as a resource. But here, I'll give you his information.
Which branch is that at? It looks like our San Diego branch. Am I right?
It was, yeah. I was there on vacation and decided to go and see what your Ewing branches looked like.
And if I remember correctly, the turf grass there is they use Holganix to take care of it.
Yes, they did. And that was one of the big things that they liked when they were first starting Holganix, seeing the product in action. So it was really cool to hear from them. All right. Well,
we got everybody out of here a couple minutes before the top of the hour. How's that?
That's pretty good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Warren, for being here with us. I really appreciate it. It was great learning from you, and as always, we appreciate the partnership with Ewing.
Well, and thank you all for your participation, and thank you, Katie and Holganix, for inviting me to share some thoughts with you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Definitely. Enjoy, guys, and stay tuned for that email tomorrow. Mike says thanks, Warren, if you didn't see that. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you all.